Mark, would you like to say a few words?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'm on the edge of my seat, actually.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you're having a wonderful day so far. I got a good one for you today. So, I was on the interwebs and the YouTubes, and what do I see? Mark Carney finally went down to the United States to meet Donald Trump and talk the big talk and walk the big walk like he said he would during our election. And what do you know it? Well, he made a impression, that's for sure. But first, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And with no further ado, let's get into the video. So this is from PBS News. Don't watch this very often, but thank you for the video.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to have Prime Minister Mark Carney with us. As you know, just a few days ago, he won a very big election in Canada. And I think I was probably the greatest thing that happened to him, but I can't take vote credit. His party was losing by a lot, and he ended up winning. So I really want to congratulate him. It was probably one of the greatest comebacks in the history of politics, maybe even greater than mine. You know? But I want to just congratulate you. That was a great election, actually. We were watching it with interest, and I think Canada chose a very talented person, a very good person, because we spoke before the election quite a few times. And it's an honor to have you at the White House and the Oval Office. And you see the new and improved Oval Office as it becomes more and more beautiful with love. You know, we handle it with great love and 24-karat gold. That always helps too. Right? But it's been a lot of fun. We're going over some of the beautiful pictures that were stored in the vaults that were for many, many years, in some cases over 100 years. They were stored in vaults of the great presidents, or almost great presidents, all having a reason for being up, every one of them. So it's very interesting. But I just want to congratulate you, and ran a really great race. I watched the debate. I thought you were excellent, and I think we have a lot of things in common. We have some tough points to go over, and that'll be fine. We're going to also be discussing Ukraine, Russia, the war, because Mark wants it ended as quickly as I do. I think it has to end. We had some very good news last night. The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight. And we will honor that. And we will stop the bombings. And they have capitulated. But more importantly, we will take their word. They say they will not be blowing up ships anymore.
I just want to take a quick break right there, and it's interesting. So, all through our election, we heard that Pierre Poilievre, he's the Canadian Trump. He's just like Trump. Mark Carney goes down to United States, to the Oval Office, to talk to Donald Trump, and what do you know? First thing Donald Trump says, oh yeah, we have a lot in common, you're a lot like me. So, Donald Trump, the actual guy, says that Mark Carney is a lot like him, that they have a lot in common. I just thought I'd point that out.
Words?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'm on the edge of my seat, actually. But thank you for your hospitality and above all for your leadership. You're a transformational president, focus on the economy with a relentless focus on the American worker, securing your borders, ending the scourge of fentanyl and other opioids, and securing the world. And I've been elected with my colleagues here, with the help of my colleagues here. I'm going to spread the credit to transform Canada. With a similar focus on the economy, securing our borders, again on fentanyl, much greater focus on defense and security, securing the Arctic and developing the Arctic. And the history of Canada and the U.S. is we're stronger when we work together, and there's many opportunities to work together. And I look forward to, addressing some of those issues that we have, but also finding those areas of mutual cooperation so we can move forward.
That's great. Very nice. Thank you very much. It's a very nice statement.
So I've been seeing online a lot of pretty much everything, and right there in that speech, a lot of people are like, he's kissing Donald's behind, yeah. And I'm like, dude, this is a press conference. We don't want a Christopher Freeland that goes in and is all hostile right in Christopher Freeland or what's his name, Zelensky, who's all hostile straight to Donald Trump's face on national TV and acts like a fool. So I do understand why it was very cordial and friendly, even though in the debate and everything he was going to stand up to Trump, which, I mean, I'm just going to give Mark Carney this right now. Later on, that's going to change. Let's just say. My opinion is most likely going to change.
Is USMCA dead?
No, it was actually very effective, and it's still very effective, but people have to follow it. So, that's been a problem. People haven't followed it. But it was a transitional step a little bit, and as you know, it terminates fairly shortly. It gets renegotiated very shortly. But I thought it was a very positive step from NAFTA. NAFTA was the worst trade deal in the history of our country, probably in the history of the world. And this was a transitional deal, and we'll see what happens. We're going to be starting to possibly renegotiate that if it's even necessary. I don't know that it's necessary anymore, but it served a very good purpose. And the biggest purpose it served is we got rid of NAFTA. NAFTA was a very unfair deal for the United States. Very, very terrible deal. It should have never been made. It was made many years ago, but it should have never been made.
Canada and the United States, would you like to see your first trade deal be with Canada, our neighbors in the world?
I would love that. Look, I have a lot of respect for this man, and I watched him come up, in a sense, through the ranks when he wasn't given much of a chance, and he ran a really great campaign. He did a really great debate. I think that debate was very helpful. I was going to raise my hand. I don't know if that's good or bad. I shouldn't say that. That might hurt you. But no, he ran a really great election, I thought. And yeah, something could happen. Something could happen. Yeah, please.
So notice how there's been two questions. One about the NAFTA agreement and one about renegotiating a deal. Mark Carney hasn't even said a thing. It's been all Trump. Come on, Carney. Speak up about these agreements. Even if you agree with Donald Trump about how these agreements go, explain Canada's point of view from it. This is when you stand up for Canada, is the question and answer periods. But you're just seeing Donald Trump just take control of everything.
Top concession you want out of Canada. The top concession you want out of Canada.
Concession?
Yes.
Friendship.
But that's not a concession.
No, we're going to be friends with Canada. Regardless of anything, we're going to be friends with Canada. Canada is a very special place to me. I know so many people that live in Canada. My parents had relatives that lived in Canada, my mother in particular. And I love Canada. I have a lot of respect for the Canadians. Wayne Gretzky, how good, the great one. You happen to have a very, very good hockey player right here on the Capitals, who I have a lot of respect. He is a big, tough cookie, too. Just broke the record. And he's a great guy. And, we had the team here, and I got to know a lot of the players. But now Canada is a very special place. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, I'd like to get your response to this too. But Mr. President, you have said that Canada should become the 51st state.
No. Well, I still believe that, but it takes two to tango, right? But no, I do. I believe it would be a massive tax cut for the Canadian citizens. You get free military, you get tremendous medical cares and other things. There would be a lot of advantages, but it would be a massive tax cut. And it's also a beautiful, as a real estate developer, I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. When you look at that beautiful formation when it's together, I'm a very artistic person. But when I looked at that beauty, I said, that's the way it was meant to be. But, I do feel it's much better for Canada. But we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think, it would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. And we have done that in the past. And part of that, as the President just said, is with respect to our own security. And my government is committed for a step change in our investment in Canadian security and our partnership. And I'll say this as well, that the President has revitalized international security, revitalized NATO, and us playing our full weight in NATO, and that will be part of it.
And they have.
Wait. Was that standing up for Canada? This is the turning point. He did not stand up for Canada there. He was just like, Canada's not for sale. There's just some places that are never for sale. And, I'm a real estate agent as well. Where's the gumption? Where's the gung-ho we saw during his election? Elbows up, guys. Elbows up, Canada first. But the strangest thing that I would like to point out, and I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist right now, but I think this is very, very important, is how Mark Carney answered that question. If you go back, he said, I just met with the owners of Canada and what was talking to them. Now, when first I heard that, I was like, he's talking about Canadians, of course, like the owners of Canada, Canadians. But I've never heard that from any leader ever, any prime minister. I've never heard them call Canadian citizens the owners of Canada. So I'm wondering, who did Mark Carney meet with who he considers the owners of Canada? Is it the King? Is it the Indigenous tribal chiefs of Canada? Is he talking about the premiers? Because the premiers aren't the owners. They're they're elected. Is it the Bank of Canada? Or are they the people in the shadows we don't know about who've invested a ton of money in Canada that we are highly indebted to? Are those the families like the Rogers family, the McLean family, and others who have so much money invested in Canada, they're considered the owners of Canada? I thought I just emphasize that.
They have, I must say, Canada is stepping up the military participation because Mark knew, they were low, and now they're stepping it up, and that's a very important thing. But never say never. Never say never.
What would it take to get the tariffs off of Canada?
Well, we'll be talking about different things. Like, we want to protect our automobile business, and so does Mark. But we want to make the automobiles, and we want to, we have a tremendous abundance of energy, more than any country. We have, just in Alaska alone, ANWR has been reopened now. ANWR is probably the largest find anywhere in the world. They say it's larger than Saudi Arabia. I don't know, but it's a lot. But we have tremendous amounts of energy. Other countries don't. We're both lucky in that way. They have energy. We have energy. We have more than we can ever use and more than we could ever sell, actually. And you have the same thing. So we're two countries that are very lucky. If you look at China, they don't have that. It's a big disadvantage. Other countries, most countries don't have. Most countries don't have that. So Canada and us, we have a lot of advantages over other places.
Bro, when he says never say never, open up your mouth and say, it will be never. Elbows up, guys.
When you consider what Mr. Carney just said, that Canada is not for sale, does this make the discussion a little more difficult to start on?
No, not at all. No, not at all. No, time will tell. It's only time. But I say, never say never. I've had many, many things that were not doable, and they ended up being doable, and only doable in a very friendly way. But if it's to everybody's benefit, Canada loves us, and we love Canada. That's, I think, the number one thing that's important. But we'll see. I mean, over time, we'll see what happens.
USMCA, is the U.S. prepared to walk away from that pact?
From what pact?
USMCA.
No, it's fine. It's there. It's good. We use it for certain things. It's there. We have the USMCA is a good deal for everybody. I won't say this about Mark, but I didn't like his predecessor. I didn't like a person that worked for. She was terrible, actually. She was a terrible person. And she really hurt that deal very badly because she tried to take advantage of the deal and she didn't get away with it. You know what I'm talking about. But so, you know, we had a bad relationship having to do with the fact that we disagreed with the way they viewed the deal. And we ended it. You know, we ended that relationship pretty much. The USMCA is great for all countries. It's good for all countries. We do have a negotiation coming up over the next year or so to adjust it or terminate it.
Mr. President.
I'll say a word on USMCA, if I may, Mr. President. It is a basis for a broader negotiation. Some things about it are going to have to change. And part of the way you've conducted these tariffs has taken advantage of existing aspects of USMCA. So it's going to have to change. There's other elements that are come, and that's part of what we're going to discuss.
Right.
Wow, Mark Carney. Add a way to protect and act like a boss and really back up the people who work for you. We all know when Donald Trump was saying, I didn't like that person who negotiated the USMCA agreement. We all know who he's talking about. He's talking about Chrystia Freeland, right? Chrystia Freeland is extremely close to Mark Carney. She said as such. See, she said that her kid is Mark Carney's, what is it? Or Mark Carney's, his or hers godfather. And Mark Carney said nothing. He did nothing. He didn't tell Trump to simmer down or tell him, hey, let's not get personal about this. Let's just be businesslike. No, he just sat there. And if he can't protect a close personal friend like Chrystia Freeland, how can he protect Canada? How can he stand up for Canada? I think you boomers were lied to that this guy is going to do anything to us except sit and be a figurehead, the figurehead of prime minister. And on the automotive sector, I want to say this, is when Donald Trump was shitting on our automotive sector and said, we will not buy cars from you. Just remember when he asked Trudeau about that, Trudeau said that if you don't buy our cars, it will decimate our economy. Mark Carney said nothing about that, knowing that if the US doesn't buy our cars, it will decimate our economy. Open up your freaking mouth.
During the campaign, Prime Minister Carney talked about the American vitriol. How did you react if Canada decided not to shop in the American store as much as before and decided to partner with other countries?
Well, we don't do much business with Canada from our standpoint. They do a lot of business with us. We're at like 4%. And usually those things don't last very long. You know, we have great things, great product. The kind of product we sell, nobody else can sell, including military. Look, we make the best military equipment in the world, and Canada buys our military equipment, which we appreciate. But we make the best military equipment in the world by far. The missiles, the submarines, everything. Everything we have is really top-notch. I rebuilt our military during our last term. Stupidly, we gave some away to Afghanistan, which shouldn't have happened. But that was, I think it was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. It was just very incompetent people. But if you look, the man that's now the head of our Joint Chiefs, he led the attack on ISIS for me. That's why he's the head of the Joint Chiefs. And Raisin Kane, he was unbelievable. And as you know, we defeated ISIS in 3 weeks. It was supposed to take 5 years. We did it in 3 weeks. And he ran the campaign. I said, I like him. But I knew him before. I went to Iraq, and we agreed to a plan, and that was the plan. And as you know, we did it in record time. So we have the best equipment in the world. We have a lot of things. And but Canada, it does a lot more business with us than we do with Canada. Yeah.
Mr. President.
Okay, this is really starting to tick me off. At this point in time, I literally would have stood up and just walked out and told Donald Trump to go literally F himself. Because he just spat in all of our sectors. Everything we send to the US, Donald Trump just said it doesn't last very long. It's just like stuff you get from China. It breaks down right away. Those words literally came out of his mouth right in front of our leader, and he said nothing. Elbows up, guys. I'm gonna protect you. I'm gonna stand up to Donald Trump and let him talk about our workers like they don't know what they actually do and create shit products. Anyways, let's continue.
Mr. President, what changes would you like to see to the USMCA? Or what changes would you like to see?
We're going to work on some subtle changes, maybe. I don't even know if we're going to be dealing with the USMCA. We're dealing more with concepts right now. Look, right now, we're doing trade. We have trade. They're paying a tariff on cars and steel and aluminum. And I think we have a baseline of 10% or something like that for the tariffs. But we're getting along very well. Right now, going no further, but we have an agreement. We did something with Even Parts. So it gave them a chance to be able to build their car parts factories if they're going to. A lot of these companies already have factories, and what they have to do is just fill them out. But they're able to build them in the United States, so we gave them a pretty substantial period of time.
Just to clarify, Mr. President, is there anything the Prime Minister can say to you today to change your mind on tariffing Canada?
Tariffing cars?
Tariffing Canada. Is there anything he could say to you in the course of your meetings with him today that would get you to lift tariffs on Canada?
No,
Why not?
just the way it is.
What's your first state?
Yeah.
If Canadians don't want it, would you respect that?
Sure, I would.
What the heck? The guy, Mark Carney, tries to stop the media so he can talk. Gets like a tad bit in. He looks like a kid. He looks like a little child. And goes to Donald Trump like, "Oh, Trump, can you let me talk? Can you let me talk, please?" Elbows up, guys. I'm gonna really take it to Trump. Give him what's for. He's like a child in front of adults. I try not to be mean, but this is just embarrassing. Trudeau would have been better. Trudeau did a way better job in meetings like this. I'd rather see him show his socks than Mark Carney lay back like a dunce.
But this is not necessarily a one-day deal. This is over a period of time they have to make that decision. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may. Respectfully,
Go ahead.
Canadians' view on this is not going to change on the 51st.
Go ahead. You may speak. You may speak, Mark Carney.
Secondly, we are the largest client of the United States in the totality of all the goods. So we are the largest client of the United States. We have a tremendous auto sector between the two of us, and the changes that made have been helpful. 50% of a car that comes from Canada is American. That's not like anywhere else in the world. And to your question about is there one thing? No, this is a bigger discussion. There are much bigger forces involved, and this will take some time and some discussions, and that's why we're here, to have those discussions, and that is represented by who's sitting around the table.
See, the conflict is, and this is very friendly. We're not. This is not going to be like we had another little blow up with somebody else. That was a much different. This is a very friendly conversation. But we want to make our own cars. We don't really want cars from Canada, and we put tariffs on cars from Canada. And at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars. And we don't want steel from Canada because we're making our own steel, and we're having massive steel plants being built right now as we speak. We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things because we want to be able to do it ourselves. And we, because of past thinking of people, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. In other words, they have a surplus with us, and there's no reason for us to be subsidizing Canada. Canada's a place that will have to be able to take care of itself economically. I assume they can. I will tell you that Trudeau, when I spoke to him, I used to call him Governor Trudeau. I think that probably didn't help his election. But when I spoke to him, I said, so why are we taking your cars? Why are we taking we want to make them ourselves. I mean, I said, and if the price of your cars went up, or if we put a tariff on your cars of 25%, what would that mean to you? He said, that would mean the end of Canada. He actually said that to me. And I said, that's a strange answer, but I understand his answer. But no, I mean, it's hard to justify subsidizing Canada to the tune of maybe $200 billion a year. We protect Canada militarily, and we always will. We're going to, that's not a money thing. But we always will. But, it's not fair. But why are we subsidizing Canada $200 billion a year, or whatever the number might be? It's a very substantial number. And it's hard for the American taxpayer to say, gee whiz, we love doing that. Thank you very much. We're going to have a very substantive. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Why don't you why did you Sir, NATO spending?
I don't know what to say. I think I said enough. Well, I'll just end it like this. When Donald Trump comes out with if I was there as Prime Minister in Mark Carney's shoes, and Donald Trump comes out and he's like, we don't want your aluminum, we don't need your oil, we don't need you, we don't need your cars, we don't want you, Canada, pretty much. And he says, you make shit products, yours is way inferior to America's. I would have spoke up right there, right after. I wouldn't hold my hand up. I would just start talking, even if the media was just going on and on and on. I would have said, well, that there's a lot of other markets out there. Asia is a massive market that we haven't even tapped into yet. But because we understand that America, views our products as terrible, and America views us as inferior, China seems like they'd love our aluminum, they'd love our cars, they'd love our oil, right? Since as Donald Trump, and I'd be very cordial about this, I'd say, as Donald just said right here, he said that China doesn't have a lot of oil. Same with Japan, same with Korea, same with all of Asia. They don't really have very much oil there. So since America doesn't want our oil, we're going to ramp up our trading, or we're going to look at ramping up our oil trading with China and all of the Asian countries. And since it seems like America really doesn't want our aluminum, and it also seems like Asia doesn't really have that much aluminum, especially China, and they could really use a lot of that, and a lot of concrete and all that. We are going to look at ramping up our trade with them, and and cars. I mean, Canada's got some of the best cars, and it looks like in China they're having a really, really hard time with their vehicles being a little bit iffy in the winter because Canada's a cold country. We're going to look at really, really ramping up our trade in automobiles with China and Japan and Korea and Philippines and all that. Yeah, especially. And car parts too, since, America doesn't need that because they've got way more inferior car parts that they don't need Canada's, but across the ocean they need ours, and especially China, because it seems like a lot of their manufacturing bases are starting to decrease. So same with food. Since everything else in Canada is inferior to American, because, all of our food should probably go to other places that could really, really use it, since it doesn't seem like America needs anything. So we're probably going to look at Asia and Europe to send our food to. And yeah, I mean, why it doesn't make economic sense to send inferior products to a place that has more inferior products. So, it is what it is. And then just leave it at that. Just literally emphasize we're gonna ramp up trade with Asia and cut off, well, not cut off, but just, if America doesn't want our stuff and views it as so inferior to their own, because Trump's been doing this all night. And even if it's a lie that you're not going to do it, because of course we're not going to ramp everything up going to China, but Trump's always like, oh, China is the worst thing ever. Well, but all night he's talking shit about Canada and disrespecting every single Canadian. Just say, you know what? If you don't want our stuff, Asia's a growing market. We can send it to Singapore, we can send it to Korea, we can send it to Japan, we can send it to China, we can send it to the Philippines, we can send it to Europe. There is a lot of places we can send our other stuff since it's so inferior. And then see Donald Trump's reaction. But no, Mark Carney just sits there like a log and doesn't do anything. Even if you can't say that, sorry, I'm really irritated with this, so I'm gonna go on a long rant. Even if you can't say that and can't say that you're gonna trade with other countries, tell them that you're not gonna sit through one of your rants about how inferior Canada is and how great America is, and explain to them, I know we're in America, I know you're the president of America, but you can't go on live TV and say how shit Canada is when the prime minister is there, and just think I'm gonna sit there and take it. And look at all of the cabinet here. She's smiling, this dude's just sitting there like nothing. This guy, I don't even know what he's doing. That's all of our foreign diplomats right there. We are screwed. Anyways, that's all I got to say. That's it. This has angered me enough. Sorry for ranting for so long, but the weakness of Mark Carney is more than Trudeau ever was. You're not going to hear me not praise, but give kudos to Trudeau, but at least he interjected when Trump was shitting on us. Even if it was stupid or showing his socks. This guy just sits there and let it happen. He might have his elbows up, but Trump's just throwing punches and punches and punches at him, and Mark Carney does nothing. Anyways, that's all I got for you today. I'm gonna leave it at that. Edit this video, and that's gonna be that. Hopefully you guys have a great day. If you like this pretty video, please like and subscribe. If you want to donate to the channel, I got a buy me a coffee thing down below. Next video is probably going to be a little update to the channel, so look forward to that. Other than that, have a great day.